That belongs in a podcast.
Welcome to It Belongs in a Podcast. I'm joined as always by my co-host Alex, and today we have Mark with us. Mark, nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you, Brian. Glad to be here, and thank you, Alex, for having me on as well.
No problem. Thanks for coming on, man, and spending some time with us. So, for anyone who doesn't know, you were the way I met you, at least, you were the German mechanic for the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. And to this day, I still find it hilarious. I have a picture from when my kids were babies, practically, and my son was absolutely terrified of you. And I have that one framed up. I should have had it up here. I should have brought it up here. I'll have to post it when I edit this. And it's one of my favorites. But one thing I'm always interested in listening to are the stories of how the actors, the cast members, like, became a part of the show. Can you tell us a little bit of how, like, you became part of the show?
Sure. So I remember watching Indiana Jones. I'm a big, not as big as a fan as you, because you're definitely the number one fan. But I was definitely a fan as well. I love the adventure side of it. Harrison Ford's like whole demeanor and just the whole story. Like it's that just adventurous thing that, like, I think every man, women too, but like we just really love that sense of adventure and exploration and danger and reward and all those things. And I remember seeing the show when I was a kid, and I was like, man, that's so cool. But like, I just never thought like, oh, one day I could possibly be there. And that journey didn't really happen until like I stepped into Disney pretty late in the game compared to my peers. They've been in there for many, many decades. And in 2013, I decided they were having auditions for a friendly Wookiee for Star Wars weekends.
Okay. And
I decided to give that a try. And I was able to join the Disney family and that for Star Wars weekends. And it was the most incredible memories I've ever had. Such incredibly kind people, loving energy, and just everyone just having just an incredible time, right?
Oh man!
And I remember because the area where it was next to Epic, and I remember walking backstage one day, and one of the guys was like, after hanging out at the park, one of the guys was like, "Man, you're really big. You'd be good for Epic." And I'm like, "Epic? Tell me more about it," because mind you, I'm brand new in the entertainment industry, like no experience before. I did like finances and accounting and corporate stuff before that.
What a switch.
And yeah, it's total 180. And I remember I was like, yeah, sure. Like, why not? Like it's fun. Let's see what else can be done. Right. And I was introduced to the casting director at the time, Robert Herrick.
Oh, Robert.
Yeah. I was introduced to Robert, incredible human, and we just like, I told him a bit about my background, and he was like, "Yeah, if you want to audition, here are the dates." And I was like, "Sure, let's go." And then the rest is history. Like I went to the audition, and I was fortunate enough to join that family, and it was some of the most fun I've ever had in my life.
That's
and
awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of like what got me to that stage.
Okay. See, I didn't even know that you were. So you originally were playing Chewbacca, and then they brought you, and then you went over to Epic. So I like how that just kind of intertwines with everything, and to see where you've gotten with that. So, and like I said, it was my kids were young when I met you for the first time during the show. We took some pictures,
right.
And it's just really cool to see, like, I had the different stages of my kids of like how old they've gotten. People put marks on the wall. I just take pictures at Epic as they get older, and it's just really cool because I have multiple pictures with all you guys. So it almost feels like I feel like I'm a little bit part of that family too. So it's just special to me,
No, for sure. Like I remember you as well, and like your family, just how incredibly ecstatic and full of energy you are, and you just always brought great energy every single time you came through. So,
if you're not having a good day, I recommend you sit with Alex at the stunt show, because like the energy is through the ceiling. You're right. I've done it a couple times, and after like the third or fourth time, I'm like, he's really like this every time. Okay, like I get excited, but he's very expressive of it. But I'm very jealous, Mark. I've always wanted to be a Wookiee, so I'm super jealous that you get to do that. And I guess I'll ask you a really silly question. What's more comfortable in July, the Wookiee or the German mechanic?
That's not even close. Definitely German mechanic. Like it's a very, very, it's more comfortable.
You get to wear the tank top, it's
just hanging out, get a little bit of sun, we're good.
It's like not even a job. Like I wouldn't even look at that as a job.
Because it's not. In my opinion, that particular stage is probably one of the funnest places to work at in the entire world. You have people coming in, and I think that's why people have been there for so long, for 10, 20, 30 years. Not just loyalty, but because it's just an incredible energy to be around. Like, even if you've done it so many times, like the audience, 90% of them are seeing it for the first time. Yep. And you just get to see that magic. And I remember Robert Herrick talked about that. I know Robert did an incredibly heroic thing that we all know about. Yeah. Really good, getting in front of that ball. That's instincts coming in. And, he really is a hero. Mm-hmm. And, it's just people like that, they're so dedicated because I remember him saying that he wants to come back because he missed the thing, that like little girl smile in the front row. And that's just the audience, everyone in general. Because you see that you get to be part of that magic. You get to create that beautiful atmosphere, and it's truly electric. It's like a concert, like it truly is. Mm-hmm. It's so much fun, and just it's a big playground, for sure.
Yeah, you guys definitely create that magic, and like I told Kevin when we spoke to him on this show as well, I can't thank you guys enough for doing this, because for me, it is an escape for a little bit of time that we're there, where I don't think about anything else but the show. I'm excited,
right.
And that you guys do that for people like myself and Brian, so it means a lot.
Yeah. It can't be overstated. I don't think obviously what you guys are doing and keeping each other safe and taking the risks you're taking in the first place to entertain is its own beautiful thing. But then you don't have to. Nothing anywhere says you have to be as open and warm and loving to the fans like us. And they are. They're not getting paid to hang out and talk to us, and and it's just it's a delight every time. It's sincere, and I'm grateful for it. So like Alex said, it means the world. We don't often get a chance to say that, but it does mean the world. So.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So, and obviously you're not doing the show anymore. You've moved on to some pretty incredible things, and as of recent now, this doesn't have anything to do with Indiana Jones, but I think it's important, and a big reason why I thought you'd be a good guest on this show as well. You have put out a really good message recently, and you guys made a short film that really it is incredible, and it's in plain sight. It's won. I don't know, I can't even keep up with how many awards you guys have won. It's almost like every day I see a different post from you saying, we won this award, at these festivals. And I liked how, you said this wasn't made to win awards, but it is, but it needs to, because it's incredible. It's a hard watch. I had a hard time watching it. So if anyone goes and watches the short film In Plain Sight, I recommend you do, but be aware that it can be a hard watch for some. But tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you for, first of all of your incredible compliments. Mm-hmm. We put our entire heart and soul into this. Mm-hmm. That's why it shows it was truly a passion project. But it really stems down to this. And the Indiana Jones show and Disney, super fun, right? But there's a part of me that is big into advocacy. And looking at, what are some systemic problems that are happening in our country that we can do about or talk about, or it's being swept under the rug, right? And the most dearest passion of mine is saving kids, and particularly with the school shooting epidemic. And now it's a pandemic. I'm sure you've heard about the back-to-back school shootings in Turkey a couple weeks ago. So this is a global problem, but it comes down to the same issue or the same root cause. And that's why this has not been solved, is because we as a society have been unwilling to look at why this is happening, right? You know how like Alcoholics Anonymous, the first rule is admitting you have a problem? Mm-hmm. We need to take that same mentality towards the school shooting crisis, and they're not willing to talk about what the root problem is. The problem is toxic school culture. We can talk about guns, and that's why this really hasn't gone anywhere, is because both parties have been arguing about guns for so long without realizing, you know, why are these kids taking these guns to school to hurt each other to begin with? You know, and these are the statistics behind this. In 2004, the United States Secret Service did a survey, and they concluded that 3/4 to 75% of all school shootings, the majority was because of bullying and humiliation. So that's the common denominator. Alfred University did another study that annually, and people have to like really understand this. Did either of you watch the drama with Zendaya that just came out recently?
No, I haven't seen that.
I highly recommend it, but there's a portion of it, without spoiling it, there's a portion of it where a statistic is brought up that there's thousands of people walking across the United States that are thinking about doing some type of shooting. And that's what no one talked about. And going back to the Alfred University, 1.4 million students have thought about shooting a classmate at school because of bullying. And then out of that 1.4 million, 955,000 students have brought a loaded gun to school. And this literally just happened 2 weeks ago. Big high school close by here in Orlando, they were recently arrested because a student brought a loaded gun to school. And then out of those students, 90% of them did so because of bullying and revenge. And that's the reason why they brought the gun to school. So like, this has been like festering and like marinating in my brain for a long time. And then COVID like really made me rethink about everything because, you know, the whole world shut down, right? And so during that time period, I had to really reflect, like, you know, like, why am I here? This is a hard question. It's truly the hard question. It's like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Like, you know, what is really enduring to my heart, you know? And then it came back to this crisis. And from that, I had the fortunate opportunity to do a TEDx talk in North Carolina. And the theme was uncomfortable solutions. And then I talk about the school shooting crisis and like, you know, why this is happening and how we can actually fix this. It was highly receptive, and I'm super grateful for the impact there. But then I was like, that was great, a TED Talk, amazing. But like, I need to impact more people. Like, I need to really get this in front of as many people as I possibly can. And I know that filmmaking and movies is one of the greatest forms of media to help tell a story.
Correct.
Right? That's why I love Indiana Jones, Star Wars, all the other films. Like, it's about storytelling. And I wanted to see what I can do with storytelling regarding this particular problem. So in the beginning of 2024, because that was the year after the talk, I went up to my really good friend of mine who's a director and writer, and we just bounced back ideas and said, let's make this happen. And we started the production in the beginning of 2024. And then we filmed all the scenes except for the high school. And the director warned me, Alex, he warned me, Mark, logistically finding a high school that's going to allow us to do this is going to be very hard. And he was right. I made phone call after phone call after phone call for high school for 3 months, and I got no's across the board because of what we were trying to film, you know, scene about school violence. And they just said, we understand the cause, we understand it's for a good reason, but because of the nature of it, because of X, Y, and Z, there's red tape all around it. And then one day I was like, I just put it in there, like, you know, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I just kind of like just sat back and just stopped. 3 days later, what came across my feed was my old biology teacher from high school. And it turns out to be the principal at a new charter school. I decided to give her a message, and she said, Mark, you can use my entire school.
Wow.
So like it was a synchronicity beyond imagination. And we were able to go there, film the rest of the scenes. and then we finished principal photography at the December 31st, I believe, or 30th of 2024. And then 2025 went into post-production. And in the summer, we finally just started submitting to all the film festivals. And we have been super fortunate and super grateful and thankful that it has been accepted to dozens of film festivals across the world, multiple nominations, multiple wins.
Yeah, global recognition.
Yeah, it truly is. Because it resonates. Everybody sees like this is the problem, and like this is why this is happening. And that's why I show in my film, I take the audience through that experience, but I show the humiliation portion of it behind it.
Correct.
And that's really glossed over. And also, I feel like a part of this is that the word that's being used, even the word bullying, is too watered down. Like what is really happening with these students is sadism and abuse. And they're being really pushed over the edge through very destructive behavior. So my goal with this film is to bring this awareness to light and eventually try to reform education to change the school system to like incorporate emotional intelligence as just a basic example. And we got to change the culture. That's how we fix this. We have to change the culture. And realizing that's what has to be done is it's the monumental task. Like for me, it's like the biggest mountain in the world. I'm asking like to literally change the culture of this nation with how they treat each other. But I know it can be done, and it must be done. This film didn't come out of pleasure; it came out of a necessity. Yeah, true. And that's what's pushed me to this part so far, and I'm just been super grateful for all of it.
Yeah, like I said, it's hard to watch, but I feel like something like that needs to be hard to watch. And because it really resonates with you. So I thought you guys did an excellent job. And to kind of tie it back into the stunt show, you even had Kevin in this briefly.
Yes. Yes. Kevin, I tried to get a few other cast members as well, but Kevin was able to join on board, and he played his role very excellent. Oh, yeah. As the father of the bully.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, okay. So I've never seen Kevin like that before, but all right.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, he's an actor. He's a very great actor.
He is.
So I'm grateful that he was able to be a part of this.
Absolutely.
That's really impressive, Mark. And I thank you. I think there's some things that are universal experiences, right? And I think we're all, you talked about things being kind of glazed over and kind of, forgotten or whatever, but I think a lot of us just kind of shrug and what can I do about it, and you're doing something about it.
Correct.
But you followed the obvious trajectory of finance, Wookiee, German mechanic, filmmaker saving the world. So, I don't know what you do next, but clearly the steps. I don't, Yeah. But thank you. It's great that you're putting that to action, that you're putting these things together and you're lining it up. So thank you for not just throwing up your arms. That's the thank you.
No, I really appreciate it. And, it truly is just wanting to address this cause. And that's what it just comes down to is just how we treat each other. Like I don't know where we have gone so lost where people naturally want to hurt each other, and it's become so normalized. Like, we can't do this because these kids are broken. Like I'll give you one quick example. Here in Orlando, aside from that high school boy that was arrested for bringing a gun on campus, this all happened in Volusia County about 2 or 3 months ago. And in the same weekend, a 8-year-old boy was told his friend he was going to bring a gun to school to kill a classmate from bullying. A 10-year-old girl brought a gun to the school bus. She put the gun to her head and she pulled the trigger. It did not go off. It malfunctioned. She was arrested afterwards for having a gun, of course. And then again, the same weekend, a 12-year-old girl was arrested because she wrote a manifesto that she was going to do a shooting worse than Columbine High School. Yeah. This is just here locally in Orlando.
Yeah. And you don't hear, I didn't hear about those. So it's you don't.
It's happening it's happening so often, and that's what does not make national news. Hearing about a threat and arresting a threat before it happens, that does not make national news. When an actual shooting erupts, and 5 or more people are killed, then we all know about it. But nobody is seeing all the micro bombs going off across the entire nation of child after child getting arrested. And these aren't like 17, 18-year-olds. We're talking children.
Yeah.
And that's because I believe cruelty has evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Once upon a time, bullying ended when the bell ended and you got to go home and have some relief. But now it's all over online, cyberbullying, and that's why in 2020, with everyone increasing isolation and in the social media, it's gotten the cruelty has been 24/7, whether it's chat groups or whatever online. Plus, you add the comparison game of these platforms where you post this artificial life and this the best moments of your life, and then it's increasing the depression amongst girls and boys because they don't feel like they're living up to the standard. It's like all these things combined are coming together to create this perfect storm.
Yeah, these kids have access to this, and they can't separate. It's hard. Like, I can see how it would be hard for kids, especially, to separate that these are just a few moments of someone's life, not everything. So you're only seeing the big, exciting parts. So they're thinking, why am I feeling like this and these people are like this?
Exactly.
So it's a psychological thing too. It's it's between the emotional aspect and the psychological aspect. That plays a huge role in this.
100%. It's us as a society in general. Mm-hmm. So it's like really looking at the big picture of what's creating this and having to change it from the ground up.
Yeah.
Well, you said it yourself, Alex, about like how it's an escape for you, like going to the park and doing those things is an escape for you because. And I don't know how many people know that watch, but Alex has a very unusual job where there's a lot of life and death consequences sometimes.
I deal with death a lot, unfortunately.
Right.
So my life is not all sunshine like I portray it to be online, but I choose to focus on that, so it's a double-edged sword because, all I do is post positive stuff, but a lot of the stuff I deal with is not very positive. So I need this escape to help just clear my mind, but some people out there aren't as emotionally strong to deal with that kind of weight. And so this is what
especially kids, like you're saying, Mark.
And I've, educated my kids that, you got to be careful with what you do online, what you like, and don't pay attention to what some people say. My kids are young and they come home weekly telling us about different bullies they have at their school and different things that have happened to them. Like some weeks on a daily basis. So it happens, and I make it a point in Tiff, especially my wife, God bless her. She is constantly in their lives and just making sure that everything's okay, seeing how they're feeling. She works from home. I work a lot. I'm on call a lot at the hospital. So I can't be there as much for them, but she has done an incredible job at keeping everything grounded here and just keeping the kids educated and just mentally healthy as well. So
absolutely. Yeah.
So it takes a village though.
Oh, for sure. Everyone has to be involved, and that's what this is about. Like, everyone has to be in it. That's the only way to pick it.
Absolutely. The world's a scary place out there, but we got to turn to each other and just treat each other with respect as much as we can. I know, everyone has bad days. It happens, but it's just how you handle it is what makes the difference. So
and a lot of that comes down to awareness and emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Like just increasing these two things, and if you were to do that, like it would just everyone would just be more self-aware of their actions, and by doing so, they would be thinking twice about making certain decisions.
Absolutely.
And if that's the community do that, then I think we all just help each other out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If this just causes someone that sees it to reconsider, and it kind of humbles them and it makes them realize, those little things kind of add up.
Right.
It was well worth the time. So.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So it's a good message, and like I said, the short film is called In Plain Sight. Is there any specific place that anyone can watch this, Mark?
No,
not yet.
Not yet, because it's still actively in the film festival circuit.
Okay.
And there's some talks to some individuals in LA about possibly expanding this into something bigger.
Okay.
So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on behind the scenes right now.
Fantastic. I love hearing that it deserves to really be a widespread thing. And honestly, I think it should be something that should be shown in schools. Like that thought crossed my mind.
I've gotten that message multiple times, and that's part of the goal. Part of the goal is getting to legislation to reform education, and number one is adding it to the PSA for every single school in the United States as a one sign of what will happen if you don't take this seriously. And only by recognizing that can you actually put something into place to actually change things. And there's two. Can I talk about the solutions really quickly?
Absolutely.
And I would love your feedback on this. So the first one is using schools with a proof of concept that have already significantly reduced rates of bullying. And the top two that come to mind is Waldorf education, and then Yale has something called the ruler model. And both of these talk about emotional intelligence regulation and holistic learning. Montessori as well. And these are like the top three. If you look at the history of all school shootings, not one shooter, as far as I'm aware, ever came from one of these programs. They teach the kids kindness, compassion. They do mixed age learnings. If there's like a bright 6-year-old, they'll match that with a 9-year-old child. And so they help each other grow together. And as well as the emotional intelligence education, SEL learning. And bottom line, 80% of bullying is reduced. So it's taking some of those concepts already. Now that we know bullying and abuse is the common denominator, how do we fix that? How the kids treat each other. So it's number one, taking those models already from that system and applying it to the schools. And the second thing, and this is part of my program because now I'm starting to, as well as doing filmmaking, I'm actually started speaking to high schools and doing keynotes, and I offer a workshop. And part of the workshop is this. You know how, well, number one is understanding human nature, right? We're gonna talk about the problem using science and solve it using science as well. So humans a lot of them are still animalistic and tribalistic because they are programmed by their amygdala, which is the fight or flight, right? And in middle school and high school, popularity is currency, right? Correct. Nobody talks about that. Because of that, the students segregate each other into social hierarchies. In the top of the social ladder are the varsity athletes, the jocks, the popular students. In between are the students just trying to fit in. And the bottom of the barrel are the outcasts, the rejects, the losers, the nobodies that are treated like trash by their peers above them. It's just become so part of human nature that they've normalized it. And they go like, oh, it's just a little bit of bullying, or toughen up, or kids will be kids, or boys will be boys. And then, then this catastrophic outcomes happen. So now that we know that there is a social ladder, how can we use leverage and use that social ladder for good? And this is the concept that I came up with, and I'm hoping to expand upon this. It's called the HERO program. What it is, you know how the varsity athletes, they have they need to have a standard GPA to be on the team, correct? And that's an accountability. If the GPA drops, you're suspended until your grade gets up, and then you can get back on the team, right? Next to that, there needs to be a character contract. The character contract is an accountability for how you treat each other as human beings. HERO is an acronym for humility, empathy, respect, and ownership for your actions. So for you to be a part of this team, you must embody these principles. When you're on the hallways, when you're in the cafeteria, when you're in the classrooms, you embody what it means to be a hero. The coaches tell them, for you to be on this team, it is a privilege. And then that your peers look up to you. And that's confirmed by the Alfred University research, that the peers are highly affected by each other. So if some of you make it to collegiate level, that many more kids are going to look up to you. If you make it professionally, millions of kids are going to look up to you and they're going to want to be you. So you need to learn right now what it means to be a good character and a good human and have decency as a human being. And if you choose to break this contract, if you believe that being a bad person is better, if you let your vanity and your ego and your pride get to your head and you feel like hurting those of lower social status than you, then, because we have to have skin in the game for this to work. And fraction number 1 is a 3-game suspension. And fraction number 2, you are kicked off the team. If everyone abides by this, get the athletic director involved, the districts involved, if everyone goes in on this, I assure you and I promise you, we will shift from toxic school culture to positive school culture. school shootings and suicides drastically go down.
I believe it, and I'm kind of shocked that isn't a part in schools right now. Like, I understand like the GPA thing. My daughter, if she's in gymnastics, if her GPA drops below a certain level, and this isn't even to deal with the school, this is extracurricular activities outside of school. Like, they implemented that if you drop below a certain GPA, you can't be here. You can't do this. And she loves gymnastics. So she goes to gymnastics 4 days a week. I mean, she's still keeping up her grades. She's so organized, and I'm extremely proud of her because she uses that as a motivation to keep doing better, and staying where she's at. So I think accountability is a huge thing, and I think that definitely needs to be something that honestly, I can't believe it's not already initiated,
Well, that's only because we do not talk about character in general. Like, look at us as a society, truly. If you ask your average kid a question right now, the question, what do you want to be when you grow up?
They don't know.
The old answer was doctor, lawyer, nurse, firefighter, police, right? Now the answer is influencer. It's like, you don't even know what that means, and these kids, because it comes down to popularity, how many followers I have. It goes back down to the ego and pride. Why? Because we as a nation have subconsciously told our children, and as well as the television, the programming of a lot of things, the only value you have as a human being is how much money you make. What is your social status? What car do you drive? What home do you own? And it's all ranking each other off of that same social ladder. And because we have got to that point so much, we have become morally bankrupt as a country. That is what needs to change. That is what I'm addressing, because this systemic rot is what's creating these problems, and it's being shown with these kids hurting each other. And the disconnection is real. It has become truly about vanity. And again, we live in a time period where we're supposed to live in the best time in all of human history, yet we also have the highest suicide and mass shootings in all of history as well, just mass violence and mass death. And it comes down to how we are as a society, and that's what this initiative is really trying to do. I know it's like trying to move a mountain, but I know that there's enough people behind this. That's the power of this country. You start a movement, you get enough people behind you, you can make some change happen. And that's the goal of this mission and project, is to get it in front of legislation and change education and bring safety back to our schools.
And to prove your point, I ask my kids all the time, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Right.
A couple of years ago, my son had said, I want to be a streamer, a video game streamer. And I'm like, oh, that's great. But because he sees that I do a lot of this social media stuff, and he doesn't like it himself. Like, he's not into this kind of stuff, but he sees like the different things. Like, I personally just like filming my life, so my kids have something to look back on. And it's just kind of grown into this thing that I've done now. But I quickly remind him, I was like, look, that's great. You want to be a streamer, but look at what I do. I still have a full-time job. I'm a nurse. I do this as a hobby.
Right.
The moment your hobby can make you more money than like a job, then we can talk about that. But in the meantime, you can stream and stuff, but that's going to be a hobby, and that's fine. I support that. But you need to have some sort of financial stability to do that. So you need to pick a career path, but also do this as a hobby, have fun doing it. And if it grows into something, fantastic. But you also need to have that knowledge to know that you have something else to fall back on, So, and that's why, I will never give up my nursing license, for anything. And I will continue always being a nurse as a full-time job. And then this is fun. This is my fun. And in a way, I'm kind of grateful that I'm doing this so he can see, but maybe, parents who just have that one full-time job and don't do the social media stuff, those kids who want to do that influencer stuff don't see that side, The people who've been influencers or YouTubers have been doing this for years, and they don't understand the amount of work that gets put into it. And a lot of YouTubers had full-time jobs before this, before all that, before.
Yep.
So and they don't, I don't know if they talk about that or not, because I don't watch a lot of that stuff, but I have a feeling, I would assume that that's not the main talking point of their videos, So
again, it goes, like you said, it's not only the opportunities they get, but it's this perception, like we were talking earlier about how things are, which I think there were two things that you said, Mark, that to me that were like super appealing, which was looking at who isn't getting caught up in this. Like, what's different there, which I don't think I've heard very many people talk at all. Like, what's the commonality in people that aren't doing this? If you can find groups of people, which is super interesting, right? Like, that's definitely discussion worthy for me. And then probably even more so, like you said, there's a huge appeal because when you do succeed at this thing at a professional level, like you said, especially with sports, you have. And maybe it's just perception based, but like they tie it to morality. They tie it to like, well, no, you can't be seen as doing these things and being associated with these things because our brand is on you now. So
exactly.
You are just
yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, you see that all the time. Somebody says something and they're suspended for a while, and then they went through training and they come back, and it's like, and I think that's great that there's a response to it, but I would like it to not happen in the first place. I want to go back to when my idols weren't perceived as doing that, whether they did it or didn't. Obviously it would be easier if we just squashed it to begin with, right? If it didn't happen at all, then it doesn't happen at all. And they're out there, they should be a part of this, not an example of this. So
exactly.
It's really beautiful stuff, Mark. Yeah.
100%. And this is really done two directions. Most of the time when I share this with coaches or staff of schools, but especially the coaches, most of them are like super on board. They're like, wow, this needs to be implemented right away because it just makes sense. Some of the coaches are already like, hard on them in terms of like just overall development, like overall growth, and then just adds on top of that, right? However, there's a few coaches that are like, that's BS. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about winning and like winning is everything. And for those coaches that say that, I have to share with them because, truth is truth. That if you choose to have this attitude and you allow your student athletes to get away with whatever they want, no matter how bad it is, then you might be the next Columbine. And I say those words with tremendous gravity because that is what happened at that school. The current narrative is that they were, they just like video games. They looked at the Marilyn Manson and, part of the trench coat mafia, whatever that means. And the truth, the very truth, and this is from the book. Right here, No Easy Answers by Brooks Brown. And the truth is this, is that those boys were brutally abused by the varsity athletes for years, specifically the football players. And we're talking like, we're not talking bullying, we're talking like straight up abuse. Like if adults did this stuff, people would be in jail, but because it happened there, it was just swept under the rug. And that's the reality if we do not choose to look at character and integrity. And then that was just the first like real big warning sign. Since Columbine, there's been so many school shootings, and it's the common denominator in all of them. The kids are hurting each other. They're being torturous to each other. And the character is not there. The character development isn't there. And when you do that, they revert back to the old, animalistic, tribalistic, reptilian mind. And that goes towards chaos, destruction, and greed, which breed these conditions. This is stopping that at the most primitive level and primal level there is. But there is hope. This can be fixed by leveraging, again, the most influential students of the school to make the right decisions for human beings and have the domino effects go from there.
Yep. This kind of brings me to a thought, too. It's like, I know, like, at Disney, they tell, like, the cast members, you're on stage. And when you're on stage, you have to present yourself in a respectful way. I just don't... I can't wrap my head around the fact, why can't we just always be on stage? And treat everybody with respect. It's like you're on stage. Well, I mean, I try and pride myself and I strive to always be on stage, and that's the way I look at that. It's, even behind closed doors, I try to be the best person I can be. Like I said, everyone can have a bad day. I'm not saying not that, but we need to, Disney has a thing, like I do agree with that, like the whole on stage thing, but I just think that needs to carry over into everyday life as well.
Right. Most people aren't willing to make that much of a transformational change.
Yeah.
That requires truly looking within as a human being and confronting whatever issues you are going through, and instead of using vices to deal with them, actually confronting them and growing as a human being and growing. And most people are afraid of that.
Mm-hmm.
They get into their little comfort zone and they just stay the same and they never change.
Yeah.
And then they keep yelling for life, like, well, this sucks or whatever it is, and they aren't willing to make the change. Like, you have to, that's what part of this journey is. All of us as humans is and see how much we can grow, emotionally, spiritually, physically, like just the whole package. If you can just focus on every aspect of you to be better. And Japan has something about this called the Ikigai. And they talk about this, that the happiest people are the ones that focus on all these areas of growth. And when you water all these areas, you grow and evolve as a human being, and that's the best. That's one of the most fulfilling feelings that there is growing, because if you're not growing, you are decaying. Yeah. And most people are not growing, so they're decaying, and we're seeing the result of decay, which is disease, which is eventually death. You see that it's happening everywhere.
That's a
like you said, it's a societal issue, not a political issue. It's not like that. It is beyond that, and like you said, it's global. So it's like cultural shift. Even if we're trying to do it here, we're trying to do this at home in the States. That's a hard thing to do because you have to have positive reinforcement by the structure they're a part of, not just the school. It's hard to control that. It's hard to manipulate that. It's hard to convince people to reconsider these, hard stances they've taken on things, or at very least, the comfortable ignorance, So that's it's really interesting, Mark. Yeah, that's a conversation worth having.
Thank you, and you're right, Brian. And the way to fix this is because a lot of people are set in their own ways. Fortunately, the children are not. The children are very pliable, and if you introduce these concepts at an early age, then that's how you actually change future generations.
Yeah, they're sponges at that point.
Yep. So. But I definitely do know adults are seeking change and growth too. That's why Tony Robbins, he's one of my biggest mentors, and I'll quote him. Awaken the Giant Within was one of my favorite books that I've ever read, and this during the COVID period. That's why I started doing a lot in COVID, is I started reading a lot, and this was the book that really transformed my life. And a lot of adults, he's the master of personal growth because he understands this issue that we're talking about that's starting in childhood manifests into adulthood. A lot of adults, their breaking points, and he's a master at transforming them at that stage. But his thing is that in order to change, you have to have enough pain to force that transformation. And that's one of the biggest things that he talks about. Most people, they do not suffer, like they don't realize like how bad it can be. And the key thing is to visualize the future. Visualize if you are not in a good place right now, all right, close your eyes and imagine yourself 10 years from now. Nothing has changed. You are just older, things hurt more, and you're worse. And then you get to look back saying, oh, I wish I was back at this age, that I would make better decisions. And it's just having that pain of your future self not being utilized to the best of your abilities, and knowing you can be a better human being, but making that shift, pivoting and making that direction. And realizing that all you need is a 1% change every single day. And then that 1% over time eventually leads to parabolic growth. And that's how you see people breaking out in certain success stories, because they were tired of the pain and they were wanting to change. So I truly believe that us as a nation and us as the world, we are at that pain threshold. There are countless parents who are tired of this. So many people are tired of this unnecessary suffering in schools, and they want change to happen. And that's what this whole initiative is for.
And I like that you're taking it within the school. I think that's a great place to start. And not naming just one thing as the issue. There's several issues that are really the underlying ones are the biggest ones. And that's the thing that really needs to be focused on as well. So
absolutely.
So, pointing fingers and saying that one thing is the cause of this all, when in reality it's a few different things. So I like to bring that awareness out, and I think you're doing a great job at that. And
Thank you.
I really hope that this definitely expands to a whole lot more. It needs to. It's a great message.
Right.
And I hope, everyone will get to see it here soon once, it's doing its rounds in this, in the festivals.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, but man, what a shift in your life, man. That's just so crazy. Accounting and finances to Disney to this, I love it.
It's been one very interesting journey, but it all came from the same thing. Is it's truly asking those hard questions inside, like, why am I here? And the answer, because people don't know their purpose, right? We seek certain things trying to find what our purpose is. And you got to realize that this part of the other reason why children are broken is because they don't know why they are here, because we do not teach them why they are here. And the answer is super simple. It's not complicated. Your purpose is to serve one another.
Yeah.
Now, whatever that is, that could be a million different ways you can serve each other, right? But know that you have a gift. Everyone has something that they're great at. It's simply finding that gift, and that's your second birth. There's supposed to be a rebirth, not just physically, but the spiritual rebirth is finding out why you are here, and that's finding your purpose and finding your gift. And once you find out what that gift is, mastering that gift and giving that gift to the world, and just scaling that to as many people as possible, and then you have the perfect roundabout fulfillment and happiness and prosperity. You can have it all, truly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I cannot possibly top that. I think we should stop here because nothing I say is going to be better than that one.
I couldn't say anything better myself. No, I think that's a good note to really end on, and so everyone can really think about that too.
Awesome.
So, and I think what I'd like to do is, once this is available for others to see, like on a wider network, maybe we'll have you back on and we can talk about it some more after others have been able to see it for sure.
That'd be great. Have you still Brian yet?
No, I'll send him, if you're okay with that, I'll send him the link.
Well, yeah, no, I gotta send you the new link because what I sent you expired.
Okay.
So I'll send you the newest one, and then you can forward that to Brian. And Brian, I'm really looking forward to your feedback on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll stay in touch. I want to check it out first, but I want my kids to see it after I've seen it.
Definitely watch it first by yourself, and then you make the decision if it's good for your kids to watch it too.
Yeah.
Right. Mine are a little older than Alex's kids, so yeah, I'm lucky in that way. But I still,
you got to gauge it for sure. Like I said, it's a hard watch, but it's up to the discretion of the parent if it will. But I do think everyone needs to see it at some point.
Yeah.
So
it's a necessity to start the hard conversation that most people are unwilling to have.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I was going to say, if you're comfortable having that conversation, you're not thinking it through.
Yeah.
So I think you got to be constantly uncomfortable. So that's exactly what I was thinking. So I'm glad. It sounds like I'm on the right track anyway. So.
Yep.
So.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. Thank you for talking to us about your time with the show and talking to us about what you're doing now. And I'll definitely stay in touch, sir. I appreciate that.
We'll all have to catch a show together.
Yeah, please.
Let's do it. Let me know.
Let's do it.
So, yeah, Brian, thank you it's a pleasure meeting you, Alex. Always a pleasure talking with you, man. You're a great human doing great things, and just thank you. I think the both of you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.